Then he wiped his head and entered his 2 index fingers into his ears and wiped the backs of his ears with his thumbs. Washing the feet. And he washed his feet up to the ankles 3 times. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, made ablution, he would enter the water between his toes with his little finger. Supplication. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "If one completes and perfects the ablution, and then says, 'I testify that there is no God except Allah, the one who has no partner, and that Muhammad is his slave and messenger,' the 8 gates of paradise will be opened for him, and he may enter through any gate he wishes."
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله.
Summary. Make an intention and say Bismillah. Wash the hands. Rinse the mouth. Rinse the nose. Wash the face. Wash the beard. Wash the forearms. Wipe the head. And wash the feet. General points about ablution. Water usage. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to perform a complete ablution with just 2 handfuls of water. Brushing the teeth. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "If I had not found it hard for my followers or the people, I would have ordered them to clean their teeth with siwak, the Muslim toothbrush, for every prayer." Beginning with the right. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, loved to begin with his right side while cleaning or purifying himself. Washing each part. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, performed ablution, washing each part once, twice, or 3 times, except the head, which he only wiped once. Tayammum, dry ablution.
وَإِن كُنتُم مَّرْضَىٰ أَوْ عَلَىٰ سَفَرٍ أَوْ جَاءَ أَحَدٌ مِّنكُم مِّنَ الْغَائِطِ أَوْ لامستم النساء فلم تجدوا ماء فتيمموا صعيدا طيبا فامسحوا بوجوهكم وأيديكم إن الله كان عفوا غفورا.
Make an intention, saying Bismillah. Strike the palms of the hands once on clean earth, such as sand, or any clean surface on which dust has collected. Blow off the excess. Wipe each hand up to the wrist. Wipe the face. What nullifies ablution? After one uses the toilet, touching the private parts, loss of consciousness, deep sleep, passing wind. When bathing is required, performing ghusl. After sexual intercourse, after having a wet dream, after menstruation, period, after postnatal bleeding. Performing ghusl, bathing. Make an intention, saying Bismillah. The Prophet, peace be upon him, washed both hands 3 times. He would then pour water from his right hand to his left hand and wash his private parts. Next, he performed a complete ablution. Then he took some water and put his fingers to the roots of his hair to the extent that he sees that the skin is wet. Then he poured water over his head 3 times and then over the rest of his body. Importance of prayer.
إنني أنا الله لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدني وأقم الصلاة لذكري ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "If a person had a stream outside his door, and he bathed in it 5 times a day, would they have any filth left on them?" The people said, "No filth would remain on them whatsoever." The Prophet, peace be upon him, then said, "That is like the 5 daily prayers. Allah wipes away the sins by them."
وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Between a person and disbelief is leaving the prayer." The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "The comparison of the one who remembers Allah to the one who does not remember Allah is like that of the living and the dead." Place of prayer. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "The earth has been made for me and for my followers a place for praying." Forbidden places of prayer. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, prohibited prayer in 7 places: dunghills, slaughterhouses, graveyards, in the middle of roads, bathhouses, the roof of the Kaaba, and places where camels drink and rest. Covering the awrah, proper dress. For the men, just above the navel to just below the knees. The shoulders must be covered. The clothes must be loose. The clothes must not be transparent. For the women, all her body except her face and hands. The clothes must be loose. The clothes must not be transparent. Facing the Qibla, direction of prayer.
ومن حيث خرجت فول وجهك شطر المسجد الحرام وحيث ما كنتم فولوا وجوهكم شطره وإنه للحق من ربكم.
When the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, stood for prayer, he would face the Kaaba. Times for prayer.
إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا.
Fajr prayer, morning prayer. The time of the morning prayer is from the appearance of the dawn until the time of sunrise. Forbidden time. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "There is no prayer after the morning prayer until the sun has completely risen." The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "There is no prayer when the sun is at its meridian until it moves slightly to the west." Dhuhr prayer, noon prayer. The noon prayer begins when the sun passes its meridian, and it continues until an object's shadow is approximately the same length as itself. Asr prayer, afternoon prayer. This prayer begins in the afternoon when the shadow of an object is the same length as itself and continues until the sun sets. Forbidden time. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Pray the afternoon prayer, then abstain from praying until the sun sets. Maghrib prayer, sunset prayer. The time for the sunset prayer begins with the disappearance of the sun and lasts until the red twilight ends. Isha prayer, night prayer. This prayer begins when the red twilight disappears and continues up to half of the night. The only time one is allowed to pray in the forbidden times is to make up an obligatory prayer that was missed. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that one of the three most beloved actions to Allah is performing the prayers on time. Placing a sutra, barrier or screen. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "When one of you prays, he should pray towards his sutra, and he should be close to it." The Prophet, peace be upon him, would stand the distance of 3 cubits, 1.37 meters, between himself and the wall or sutra. The Prophet, peace be upon him, used to pray towards a column in the mosque, a bed Aisha was lying on, his riding animal, his saddle, a spear, a tree, and so on. The prohibition of passing in front of a person while they are praying. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "If one only knew the sin of passing in front of one who is praying, they would wait 40 days, weeks, or years, then pass in front of them." Performing 2 units of prayer.
2 rak'at.
Intention. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "The reward of deeds depends upon the intention, and a person will get the reward according to what he has intended." The intention here means that one must be aware in their mind which prayer they are praying. One must clear their mind from anything not related to the prayer and be aware that this could be their last prayer, and so try their best to perfect it. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, advised, "When you stand up to pray, perform your prayer as if it were your last." Takbir, saying Allah is the greatest. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "The key to prayer is purification, and it is entered by saying the takbir." The Prophet, peace be upon him, would raise his hands with his fingers slightly spread apart, level with his shoulders, while saying the takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Meaning, Allah is the greatest. Placing the hands. The Prophet, peace be upon him, would place his right arm over his left arm on his chest and just above the elbow. Standing before Allah.
وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ.
When the Prophet, peace be upon him, performed prayer, his eyesight did not leave the place of prostration, and he forbade us from looking up at the sky or looking around in prayer. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "It is not